Hey, what up, folks? This is Tijuana Jackson. I'm 56 years old, and here go a few things I wish somebody had told me in my 30s and 40s. Check it out on Crumb TV.
But my government name is Tijuana Jackson, life coach with a goon hand, motivational speeches, real nigga. Now, look, I know Miss Judy usually don't like this, but maybe since it's my last day.
No.
Okay, I'll just check it.
He knows better.
Fact that decisions I make as an adolescent, even or teenager, affects the rest of my life. And people go, well, wow, I'm expecting a video for 30s and 40-year-olds. Oh, it is. And that's the problem with a lot of us, is that we think that because it's in our past, it plays no role in our present. It plays no role in our future. No, what I'm saying is, if you f***ed up, you know you f***ed up, it may very well be inhibiting your progress right now. So this is your opportunity as a man to take ownership of your, clean your slate, to get your, to get your glow up, your come up, whatever it is you in pursuit of. We don't realize the psychological blocks we create for ourselves because of the decisions we sometimes make as teenagers, as kids. And if you want a more vivid example, it's not hard to do. Here's a prime example.
I got us.
You may have had a child with somebody that you didn't want to have a child with, or you may have had a child with someone that you did not communicate with, or you guys were young, you were not able to follow through in the way that you believe a father should follow through. Well, start working on resolving those issues now, because in 30 years, they're gonna eat you in your ass. They're gonna eat you in your ass, dog. That's right. You won't even have your own to play in, you heard me? Bars.
Bars.
Younger is resolutions won't make you rich, but execution will. Fail quickly, and as my mentor always say, execute, analyze, and adjust.
Something that's very important for people to understand. Why I say resolutions won't make you rich, but execution will. Well, resolution is, a lot of people make all these New Year's resolutions. I'm gonna do this for my life. I'm gonna do this for my life. Look, man, it ain't in the talking. It really ain't in the talking. It's in the execution. And what that means is stepping forward, doing it, giving it a shot. The thing that most people fail to realize is that confidence is not the catalyst. What does that mean? It means that confidence is not what's gonna kick you forward. Confidence ain't gonna get you into motion. Confidence is actually the reward. Bars. So the point that I'm making is, you have to be more willing to spend time in the uncomfortable space than the comfortable space. Because if you allow yourself to relish in comfort and relish in confidence, you likely making lateral moves. If you are looking for ascension, that's going to require you constantly subjecting yourself to uncomfortable, unfamiliar situations. And what's beautiful is, you can go in, whatever that situation is, and you can go, okay, so this is the learning curve, and master that. And now you've built a skill. You've developed an ability that now plays a role in the foundation of whatever it is you aspire to build in the future. You feel me?
Bars.
Bars.
Youngest, to understand that my parents have psychological and emotional limitations, it most likely influenced the way that I look at life, the way I look at relationships, the way I look at money. And the better I can understand how that has affected me, the better I can become at working on my own self-limiting belief. Tip number 4, neurodivergence can make relationships extremely hard.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the neurodivergence. Look, man, it's a lot of brothers out there trying to live this idea of a good man. They trying to live up to this perception of a good man. And in the whole time that they playing the good man, they fail to acknowledge or be themselves. And in most instances, the good man is really not intuitive. It's counterintuitive. In fact, playing the role of the good man is exhausting, because a lot of times it's performative. Yeah, you're just performing. You're just doing what you think you're supposed to do, but it's not honoring who you are. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of us were raised in dysfunction. We were raised in households where neurodivergence dominated the space, but we don't know it because the people who raised us went undiagnosed, or you didn't talk about that in the hood. So as a result, so many of us were raised in extreme dysfunction because the people that were raising us had chemical imbalances that they never addressed.
Well, hold on, nigga, before you flood it. Try it now.
Hey, go and park it over here. Got my first DUI when I was like 10 years old. Little nigga been driving ever since. Moving.
Now here we are normalizing that behavior because that's what we used to. That's what our brain's conditioned to. Attracting ourselves to the same women. Like I said, you ain't getting with the women that want meditation. You getting with the women that need medication. Buzz. No. And the reason is because that's what we've been conditioned to. So we now take on this dysfunction. We absorb this dysfunction and then we roll with it as if it's supposed to be the norm. It ain't. You don't subject yourself to that. And if you are someone who is dealing with a chemical imbalance, don't walk around undiagnosed. Don't you want to take ownership of it? People talk about ADHD, for instance, as if it's, ADHD is just basically, people are forgetful and, they struggle with executive function. Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of volatility when it comes to ADHD. A lot. Meaning conversations go from 0 to 1,000 in a split second.
But what about you? Have you coordinated one job interview yet?
Interviews for what, Cheryl? I'm gonna build my motivational company from the flow up till it blow up and get my dough up.
How you gonna eat? How you gonna pay bills? How you gonna stay off them blocks?
By being the world's coldest life coach. That's
You
how.
better find that bridge. You better find that bridge because you ain't about to be idle on
Oh,
my
I'm
watch.
gonna be somebody idle. You can count on that.
And you can count on me taking your ass back to jail if you stay unemployed. I mean that.
Okay, hey, Lil Lee, what's old boy's name? The tech Jew that went on the internet, the entrepreneur and got rich.
Evan Spiegel.
No, the one that be with all the Asian guys.
Oh, I know.
Mark Zuckerberg.
That nigga, yeah, go on Mark Zuckerberg page and tell him that Cheryl said that he's unemployed. Let me know what he
No,
said.
don't tell him that. I ain't say that.
There's other things too with ADHD. Often ADHD, 60% of the time, 65% of the time, ADHD is accompanied by another mental health disorder.
I am not upset. I am just very serious.
I know you are serious.
I am trying to tell you this is how I feel.
It could be anything. It could be any chemical imbalance. Usually high anxiety, often autism. You just don't know. So here's how I look at it. Speaking for myself, when I made the video that you're looking at, I was 55. I'm 56 today. In the last 15, 16 months, I've been to 2 different psychiatrists seeking assessments. Why have I done that? Neither one of them will give me an official ADHD diagnosis or ODD diagnosis or any depression diagnosis. I've been told that I have ADHD tendencies, but neither one of them are willing to give me a full say you are a full-blown diagnosed candidate for ADHD. But why did I do that? And why do I keep doing that? Well, it's for a number of reasons. One, our mental health changes, this ebbs and flows according to the level of stress that we're enduring. And as I've been building my business and dealing with the challenges that come with that, I've had some ups and downs where I want to get checked up. But the other part is to be a better businessman, to be a better partner, to be a better friend, to be a better father. I want to know what my tendencies are. I want to know what my chemical imbalances may or may not be. And if I can figure that out, well, the beauty is I can now align myself with people, align myself with the team, align myself with knowledge that helps me play into my strengths, right? And as I allow others to help me with my weaknesses, as I am able to acknowledge my weaknesses, even if it's something as simple as volatility, even if I just get an attitude or wake up grumpy or whatever, I don't want the person I'm with to feel like it's their fault because I'm in a bad mood. I was in that situation where I'd wake up with a woman and she'd just take her aggression and anger out on everybody in the house. We'd be walking on eggshells and not even knowing what was wrong. It took us 8 years to realize she was just undiagnosed with some real buzz. So that being said, it's important for you to be able to take responsibility of your mental health, of the condition of your mental health, but also so that you can be a better businessman and whatever it is you aspire to. Bars.
This is the most viewed part of the video. I definitely got to get you to react to this part.
Tip number 5 I wish I got when I was young is that sugar is the devil. Bread, rice, pasta, all sugar. Basically, the consumption of anything white with the exception of cauliflower, garlic, and white women should be minimized. Even fruit juices is just sugar. And sugar will age you prematurely, compromise your liver, and the domino effect of that is it will weaken your reproductive organs. Have your boner looking like limp to simp.
Sugar is the devil. You cut me real deep right there in Shrek.
Yeah, well, look, dog. So, you know all the stuff we've been talking about so far? The fact that some of us, look, man, people go, why you always coming with the jokey joke and the bars and the blah, blah? It's because, well, look, the people that I dream to help, the people that I dream and that I aspire to help change and put on different trajectories, the people in my online community, the people getting my free coachings who are walking away being like, oh shit, this dude just changed my life. Those people, well, they don't know that they survived trauma. They don't know that they have emotional baggage. They don't know that they have grown up in dysfunction, right? So what ends up happening is, I can't come to them and say, hey, I want to talk to you, about your emotional baggage, because they'd be like, that ain't me. I want to talk to you about your damaged self-esteem, because they're going to walk away like, that ain't me. But when I start cracking these little jokey jokes and they start laughing and this dude kind of off, who is this? And then they, oh, wait, that part sound like me. Hold up. And start hitting them with that personal, because you can't fake the real. I got him. Now I can talk to him. And so all the things that we were talking about, all the emotional baggage, all the psychological baggage, the emotional psychological limitations.
You good?
Yeah, man, I'm good.
The dysfunction, the chemical imbalances. Well, what do you think we do to survive all of that? One of the things we do, according to Dr. Lindsay Gibson, psychiatrist Lindsay Gibson, is we assume something called the role self. We feel so much rejection and we feel so inadequate throughout our childhood because of the negligence of our parents and the people who've raised us, is that we assume a role self, meaning we become someone other than who we truly are, because we believe who we truly are is not good enough. But then the other thing that we do is we develop coping mechanisms. And coping mechanisms could be all forms of stimulants. It could be too much sex, right? It could be violence. It could be drinking. But for a lot of us, it's sugar. We've normalized comfort food and sugar consumption. And we've been tricked into believing a lot of things that we're eating that are supposedly healthy sugars are better for us. Dog, a glycemic spike is a glycemic spike. And at the end of the day, it boils down to insulin, okay? So when I say sugar is the devil, what I'm actually saying is that sugar is like the dealer, because it don't matter what you're going through. Most of us grew up being rewarded for going to the dentist or being rewarded for getting through a challenge with sugar. So we are conditioned to believe that sugar is somehow or the other this treat, when in fact it's a poison. So when people say they can't get out of bed, when people say that they keep procrastinating, when people saying they don't know why they keep giving up on themselves, or they just don't know why they doubt themselves so much. Well, one of the reasons that a lot of us feel stuck is not because of the fact that we are incapable, but it's because we are sometimes overloaded and overwhelmed. We've exceeded our capacity. And let me tell you something, eating a bunch of sugar don't help. You ain't lazy, dog. A lot of times you just addicted to poison bug. And so when I say sugar is the devil, that's exactly what I mean. And people don't know that bread is sugar, rice is sugar, pasta converts to sugar the minute you masticate shit. The minute it hit your liver, you basically it's sugar. And it's not saying you don't eat none of it, but what we've normalized versus what I saw a brother the other day. This dude had the flapjacks with the maple syrup on top of it. Then he had some kind of peach syrup on top of that. And then I looked at him and he had the orange juice with it. And I'm like, and he think he eating healthy. He think he made the healthy choice getting the orange juice. Where we bought into all those narratives. We bought into all them propagandist narratives. And as a result, we're killing ourselves even faster. Because a lot of us have experienced early childhood adversity. If you ever looked at the ACEs study, you could get more information on that. And so what ends up happening is the trauma that we've experienced the coping mechanisms we develop often fall in the category of food. And unfortunately, sugar makes the most of that. So you sitting there consuming sugar throughout the day, not knowing every time you give yourself that glycemic spike, your digestive system is shutting down. And so the sugar ends up floating around in your bloodstream and attaching itself to the outer cellular walls, gradually leaching onto your cells and leaching the elasticity out of your cells. And that's how we age prematurely. And that's why dudes be 31, 41 years old and got rubber wood. That's why they can't, you know what I'm saying, they ain't juking like kings no more. Well, it's sugar. The burden it puts on your liver, not knowing that your reproductive organs are heavily dependent upon your liver. The burden it puts on your pancreas. So look, dog, all I'm saying is, if you can cut your sugar consumption by 80%, first of all, you're going to have crazy withdrawals because you don't even realize how much sugar you eat. You ask a brother, he's like, I eat pretty healthy. Log your food. Let me see you write down what you put in your mouth all day, every day. See how healthy it look on paper. Bars. Crack myself up. That's all sugar is crack. Yeah, bars. That's right. That's what's up.
Okay, and I'm so glad you got to that last point. I'm not sure, but if I had to guess, I think that's what probably resonated with a lot of brothers my age. As soon as I heard that part, I was like, I'm probably gonna have to slow down on that sugar. And not even sugar, because I consider myself to be a healthy person. But when you started going down the list, I was like, bread, pasta,
Oh, so and we having it all in one meal. Eating bread, rice, and pasta in the same meal. Eating bread, rice, pasta in the same meal. Wonder why they only 2 times a week. Well, dog, you shutting your digestive system down every time you stuff your body with that. You heard me? Bars.
Okay.
People don't even realize when they eat like that, they just letting their comfort rob them of their come up. Bars. You heard?
Work on tone and emotional regulation daily.
All I'm trying to do is spit facts, okay? This ain't nothing but the truth. And here's the issue. A lot of us was raised on shame. We are raised to believe that shame and shaming is the gospel. Well, no, actually, shame is a decoy. And so the way in which we communicate with people, if you just listen to brothers talking all day on the internet, what's getting the most follows is you berate people. You berate your wait at the restaurant, you berate your relatives, you berate your kids, instilling more shame. You open your mouth in that tone, that lets me know that that's where you come from. That's how you were raised. That's how you feel inside. I got a video that just dropped today, and it said there's nothing to fix. And the point that the video was making is, there's a lot of us walking around thinking like we got to get our minds right. We got to fix ourselves so that we can have great things. We got to fix ourselves so that we can have the life we want. We got to fix ourselves so that we can have the relationship that we want. In my online community, we talk about this all the time. 1, you ain't broken. And 2, fixing yourself, there's no such thing.
I need to get my life in order before I start back dating.
It's like you got to fix yourself before you present yourself to the world. It's the craziest I've ever heard. 1, that often leads to more isolation. 2, well, how the hell you gonna fix yourself for a relationship? You fix yourself through the relationship. Pause. Okay? And then the other thing is, this concept of shame, this concept of berating is because your self-esteem is low. And as a result, the only sense of empowerment you have is when you tell somebody off. That's the greatest moment of your life, is berating someone, telling someone off, venting. And the truth is, in most instances, you end up saying you can't take back.
I cannot believe I just said that.
I am so done.
You end up saying that people hang over your head forever because nobody wants to see you evolve and change. So as a result, you become the label of the things you say. So what I've learned through my experience is that quite often, if I'm able to regulate my emotions, keep myself at an even keel, it's not that I was more evolved than anybody else. I had great success in my most dysfunctional years. But the difference between me and the who are a flash in the pan is that I was able to regulate my emotions and not allow my mouth to cost me opportunities. That's the importance of understanding how important communication is and this concept that you have of being in a relationship. Well, it ain't really a relationship because you have a relationship to everything and everyone. So what that means is you are directly or indirectly related to the trees in your yard. You have a relationship with the mailman, the neighbor. You have a relationship with the motherfucker at the bodega. You have a relationship with the people who teach your kids. What you are talking about is a communicationship, because ultimately that's how closeness is formed. And so a lot of people are wondering why their relationships feel so transactional, why I feel like they just hired a hoe. Well, it's because of the fact that you don't know how to utilize communication to create a bond. So I'm gonna give you a prime example. I read a lot of John Gottman books, Julie Gottman, and the last one I read was actually written by him and his wife. It was called And Baby Makes Three. If you don't know about the Gottman Institute, the most prolific marriage psychiatrist in the world. They've done so many in-depth studies on married couples. And what I found that stood out to me by the time I got through a bunch of their books over the years is that the thing that really stood out was something called the story behind your stance, right? So what that means is, I give you a prime example. One time me and my lady was boning, and then she wanted to stop because she said it was hurting. We stopped for a second, and then I guess I kind of got turned off by the fact that she wanted to quit. So, and don't get me wrong, I empathize, I understand. It's a lot of, you know what I'm saying? I get that, but still, you know, I was getting my flow. And so what she wanted to do was, you know, talk a little bit. And so I just turned my back and I was like, this can't be it. And dog, I turned my back on her. She jumped out the bed, came around to the other side of the bed, huffing and puffing like she wanted to fight me. And I was like, oh, she tripping. And then she said, well, I ain't signed up for no rainbow. And I was like, what she said? What? Oh, I snapped. I said, well, if you don't like the rainbow, why you swallowing the Lucky Charms? Right? We went off. Dog, we didn't talk for days. The only reason we ended up talking is because, as per usual in Broward County, the power went out and she was scared as shit. So while we sitting there together in the dark, we kind of just started talking things out.
Did you pay the bill this month?
And she was able to tell me what John Gottman calls the story behind her stance. And she explained to me that when she was about 15, she started dating this guy who was like 17, and her dad found out, and he turned his back on her. And then shortly after, he left and never came back. And she always blamed herself for that. So when I turned my back on her and said, this can't be it was like the ultimate rejection. And she realized that I had really triggered some from her past. She already reached out to a therapist, and she said she don't want to spend her life blaming me for some shit that her father did, and that she was sorry and that she was going to work on it. And I had to come clean. I had to tell her, you know, my really curved kind of weird. And even ever since like junior high school, when we were playing PE and then take showers, people would always make fun of the way my looked because it kind of curved back. It looked like a bow and arrow with vitiligo. You heard me? And so I just stopped taking showers after PE altogether. And then everybody started calling me stinky and like that. But I told her, I said, I realized that I wasn't really fighting with her that night. I was actually fighting with them kids in junior high that used to be to me and make fun of me even in the hallways. And so through that experience, we both got to share the story behind our stances, right? So the stance of, you can't turn your back on me, her stance, she gave me what we call at the therapy center, historical and psychological context for why she felt so strongly about something. And I was then able to give her the historical and psychological context behind why I felt so strongly about something. What do you think happened when she told me her story? She tapped into my masculine spirit, dog. Now I wanted to protect her from that. Now our behavior, especially knowing that she was going to be responsible and get therapy around it and try to talk it out even with her dad. Yo, I want to protect her from ever having that feeling. You heard me? And so what do you think happened when I told her that? Dog, I tapped into her nurturing feminine spirit, and she wanted to protect me from ever having to relive that label again, relive that shame again. Matter of fact, she opened up like another 2-3 inches of I didn't even know was there. Boss. So what I've learned and what I've gathered from reading these books from the Gottman Institute is that the communication ship, communication is really where the bond between you and your significant other occurs. If you don't have these skills, if you have to always be volatile, if you have to always be triggered, you probably just a little unresolved little boy dressed up like a man with muscles in. You heard me? So the quality of your relationship really is in direct relation to the quality of your communication, boss.
Contrary to the alpha male rhetoric, your emotions matter.
For any black man, you endure so much by the time you're 24 years old. Between the age of 16 and 14, you're just a target. But not to mention the aggression you have to deal with within a community of people coming from dysfunctional households. Not to mention the lack of resources, the lack of information and access to just good, healthy food and insights that could potentially save lives. You know, in some situations, it's just terrible. And so when a child grows up economically challenged, the child's emotional needs are going to get eclipsed by economic needs, okay? But if you have parents who grew up in a similar situation and you have their parents who are also descendants of that, well, then it becomes part of the culture. It becomes part of the culture to be hard. It becomes part of the culture to not show your emotion, not be vulnerable. It becomes part of the culture to do none of those things because there's no space for it. We focus on staying alive. We ain't got time to talk about our feelings. Matter of fact, it wasn't too long ago, my pulling kids, black kids out of school to go work on the farm. Ain't had time to talk about education, let alone some feelings. And we talk about this in my online community all the time, is that when you become emotionally inept, when you are emotionally detached from your own emotion, you don't know how to prioritize boundaries. You don't know how to prioritize emotional needs, and you don't know how to communicate emotional needs. Well, if you can't identify your emotions, you ain't really identifying the nuance of anybody else's emotions. And as I say in the video, the common denominator for true success and fulfillment across the globe is emotional intelligence. So hell yeah, your emotions matter. Not only do your emotions matter, your emotions are a cue, not to act, a cue to pay attention. Because in most instances, what you've experienced when you experience an emotion is a chemical reaction. Like the one I had when old girl told me she ain't signed up for no rainbow. My body was flooded. I felt hot. Well, dog, that was an opportunity for me to go, whoa, what could pull me out of my game plan? What could pull me out my lane like that? What is it? And being able to do the research, do the work, and evaluate, analyze my life, my childhood, I was able to identify what it was that I was feeling. And what it was that I was feeling was shame and anger and some regret because of how I reacted. But the shame and the anger was from a kid that was 11 years old. I don't want to carry that into my office. I don't want to carry that into my relationship. So your emotions are really a cue to help accelerate your ability to learn about you, to learn about your vulnerabilities so nobody can't pull you out your lane. You feel me? Like Socrates always say, dog, tragedy is a life unexamined, and I get it. Evaluating yourself and sitting with yourself and dealing with your emotions and that level of vulnerability. I'm about to go in. You ready to play this game of Frisbee? Because there's going to be some back and forth and it's going to be over most niggas' heads. You're going to be really uncomfortable sitting there having to deal with your vulnerability and your emotions, especially if you were conditioned to never pay attention to them. This niggas on YouTube saying out loud that they tell their 3-year-old that their feelings don't matter. Dog, when you do that, is you are creating an economic slave. And I'm gonna give you a very literal example of how this works. Let's say, you grow up, you're like, oh, you gotta be hard, you gotta be a man, you ain't got time for emotion. Okay, well, here's an example of how emotion actually works. Emotion affords you the luxury of nuance. If you are able to identify your emotions, if you are able to go, damn, I'm feeling a kind of way, and you realize you were triggered by something, well, that gives you the opportunity to now resolve that trigger. If you are able to resolve that trigger and identify the root of that trigger, you are now able to open up a dialogue with yourself and be like, damn, why did that hurt so much? And get to the root of it. And when you get to the root of it, you are able to let it go. And in the process of letting it go, you're also able to figure out ways to cope, to heal, and to evolve past it. And as you do that with every aspect of your life, of your emotions, you are now tapping in to legacy. Because what is legacy? Well, at the Therapy Center, my online community, what we call legacy, right? It's the ability to leave behind the blueprint to a lifestyle that others might aspire to. Pause. So yeah, you might be uncomfortable dealing with your emotions and that vulnerability, but the truth is, it's that vulnerability that I just explained when you are able to explain the story behind your stance, the historical and psychological context. But here go the flip side of it. Most people gonna suffer their whole life because they wasn't willing to suffer through a few uncomfortable moments. But if you are able to allow yourself to feel and experience your emotions and identify the root of your emotions and your triggers, well, dog, you just took it to a new level. Now, with this new level, you have a different level of empathy. And I'm gonna tell y'all something right now, because y'all niggas ain't gonna like this one. Look at life. Look at AI. Look at your president. The only true job security is empathy. But that's right. It's your ability to identify the emotional and psychological struggles of others, of a community, and then empathize to a degree, relate to a degree that you are able to create a solution. And that solution is your job security, fam. Boss, I can go deeper, but like I said, it's a game of Frisbee, and I know we over a lot of niggas' heads.
Give up on your healing fantasy.
The healing fantasy, this coin was termed by psychiatrist Lindsay Gibson, right? She wrote a book. The book is titled Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. If you're looking at me right now, I want you to go along with this and play this game with me. I want you to think of somebody who really did you wrong, someone who should have prioritized you, should have loved you, should have nurtured you, could have been a mom, a dad, a primary caregiver. They may or may not have been there, or they were there, but they weren't emotionally present. They might have been rough with you, or they made you feel like you were an inconvenience, whatever the case is. I want you to think of that person that neglected you, abused you, whatever it is. And I want you to think of the one thing that they could say that would make everything fine again, that would make everything whole again, that would make everybody happy again and make you be cool again. Tell me the one thing they could say. What's the one thing they could say? You got it locked in? That's your healing fantasy. And I got some bad news. Niggas like waiting on reparations. It ain't coming, fam. I'm sorry. And the truth is, most of us are waiting on this healing fantasy to begin our lives, to put down the grudges, to put down the sense of inadequacy, waiting on this healing fantasy to have a better self-image. It gets so bad that a lot of us go into our relationships expecting the healing fantasy to come out of the person we hooking up with, the person we dating, the person we in love with, our fiance, our wives. We want it out of our spouses, but it ain't coming. What you think all this tug and pull is for? All this codependency is for in your relationships? All this drama is for? It's because you end up with people and you end up looking for people to give you what your parents or your primary caregivers never did. Pause. And so if you grew up with parents that was constantly gaslighting you about what was going on in the house, well, it's likely you're going to choose a partner that gaslights the out of you. Now, if you get slick and you go, you know what? This healing fantasy, whether it's nurturing, whether it's a sense of feeling prioritized, whether it's more honesty, if you go, damn, I'm never going to get that out of these people because they were hurt when they hurt me, and they are likely still in pain or in denial of what they ever did, or facing and owning up to what they did could open up a whole can of emotional worms that they're not capable of handling. Could push them over the edge. Who knows what their reasons is? But here's what I've learned. You can't gaslight a nigga that run on diesel. Pause! And so my point being is that if you go, oh, wait a minute, it's up to me to find closure. It's up to me to heal me. It's up to me to make me the priority. Well, now you ain't got nobody to blame. Now you ain't got nobody to wait on to come and give you your comeuppance. Now you've taken responsibility for it. And so a huge step into your life, a huge step into ownership, a huge step into manhood is giving up on that healing fantasy. Boss. Hey, what up, y'all? My name is Tijuana Jackson. I'm the people's mentor. I help grown folks find purpose in their life by helping them confront the pain they even know they was carrying. You want to get some of my free coaching? Link should be in the description. Pause.